risk of cortisol overload is very high in dementia units. There's so many stresses, both external and internal, and with a cortisol high life, it's no life for anyone. With all that constant reactivity, chances are you'll be pretty friendless if you're reacting to everyone in the dementia unit. And dementia residents realise this. They know they have to get their emotions under control. They need to be nice in order to make friends. And so they make the effort, a genuine, very real effort to do that. There was one dementia resident at the unit that I worked at, and she was pretty clever, a good reader, bright, intelligent, with a very poor memory. And she used to have a low level of patience, a low level of tolerance, and quite a high ego, and was pretty friendless as a result. And she'd often say to people, "Oh, enough of that, we've had enough, it's too much, don't go on with that, cut it out." She was just berating all day, really, and she was critical. I mean, she was definitely of a higher, cognitive ability than most dementia residents in the unit. She could read, for a start, and communicated very well, which most dementia residents couldn't. But she didn't really have the empathy for others, or the sympathy, or the understanding. She just thought that everyone should read, everyone should speak, everyone should be like her. She couldn't understand that there was, a vast range of people in the dementia unit. So she used to get impatient and intolerant with other people's efforts, until she made two good friends. One was a girlfriend, a school teacher like herself, and the other was an intelligent, male friend. Now, these two friends were empathetic, understanding, and kind to the other dementia residents. They'd give them time, they weren't impatient, and they'd sit down, for a long length of time, explaining things or working with them or trying to reassure them. And this dementia resident, the snappy one, observed this, and I could see that she was starting to think things over, as to whether her approach was the right way, to go about things. And certainly her two friends were more peaceful because of their placating and empathizing and helping the other residents. They weren't getting wound up with cortisol through being irritable and anxious and uptight and critical. So she spent a lot of time observing her friends, and because she liked the male dementia resident and wanted to impress him as well, she started to make the effort to be more patient, to be more empathetic, to be kinder. And that role modelling of her friends had a really big influence on her, and she started to make the effort. And she said to me often at that particular time, "I'm working hard, I'm trying, I'm really trying, and I'm working hard, I'm trying hard." And you could see she was, especially with one dementia resident who was really very challenging, because she was escalated, she called out all day, and she was noisy. It was really difficult to be tolerant around her, but her two friends were, and the male often went up to appease her and calm her and, said, "Everything's all right, you're at home here, there's nothing to be worried about," calming, kind comment. And so even with that dementia resident that was very challenging, she started to at least stop calling out to her to be quiet. And she'd just sit there and she'd say, "Well, there's nothing you can do about it. She won't change, so no point shouting." And she really worked on herself. She built her tolerance, she built up her patience, and she started being a really nice person, actually. It took about 4 or 5 months, but she started to come round. And she wasn't now doing it for her gentleman friend, but for herself, because she said, "Yes, I do feel better being like this. I knew I needed to make the effort, and I feel better being more tolerant and kind." And actually, she set up a reading program with the other dementia residents who couldn't read that well, that were very limited with their skills. And she applied her school teaching skills to help them with reading. And also the other thing she did was she also helped dementia residents learn the names of their children. She'd get a list of their children's names all written out, and then she'd start coaching them so that they could remember the names of their children. And she achieved that. In fact, one dementia resident that she was doing the name coaching with got to know all her 4 children. And when her daughter came back from Australia and she could remember her name, which she hadn't before, she said to me at the top of the stairs when I was having lunch one day, "I think Mum's improving rather than regressing." So that was proof of the pudding, with a big turnaround there. So all these stories and examples and experiences I've written in both books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, on Amazon, on my website, description below. And thank you for your viewing. Please pass on the links. And please subscribe. Thanks.